The PDT2 is a drum step sequencer with a little bit of a twist. Now most step sequencers, including the redrum and reason, have 16 steps, and you decide which samples are triggered on which steps. So for example, you can decide that the bass drum should be triggered on step 1, and every time that step comes around, the bass drum will be triggered. And that's your choice. Either the button is pressed and the bass drum is triggered every time at that step, or the button isn't pressed and the bass drum is never triggered at that step. But what if you wanted the bass drum to be triggered at that step, but only half the time? Well, that's where probability drum triggering comes in. With the PDT2, instead of buttons, you have dials. Now, when the dial is at 0%, the associated drum will never be triggered at that step. When the dial is at 100%, the drum will be triggered 100% of the time. But when the dial is somewhere in between, let's say 50%, the drum will be triggered at that step, but only 50% of the time. Whether it's triggered or not is random, and the dial determines the probability of the trigger actually happening. Well, that's the concept behind the PDT2, a drum triggering device that uses probabilities instead of always on or always off. For a more thorough explanation of the device, of how you hook it up to samples, of how you make beats, check out the PDT2 walkthrough video.